June 30th, 2026. The day before Diana would have turned 65. While the world speculated about how the royals would honor the people's princess, Prince William was already on a train to Aberdeen, Scotland. And this wasn't a staged royal photo opportunity. William was heading to homewards, his ambitious project to end homelessness. But here's what makes this story powerful. He wasn't there to cut a ribbon or shake hands. He was there to work. With his hands. Like a regular person. Witnesses could hardly believe what they saw. A prince. The future king of England. Carrying chairs into newly built homes. Stacking boxes of essential supplies. Preparing welcome packages for families who had nothing to their names. One volunteer on the ground told reporters, he just showed up and asked what needed to be done. No fuss. No entourage. Just William. No cameras trailing his every move. No advisors whispering instructions. Just a man in work clothes, doing whatever job was in front of him next. Rewind 30 years, to 1996. A shy 10-year-old boy is standing outside a homeless shelter in London called The Passage. Holding his hand is his mother, Princess Diana. She didn't just show him poverty to teach a lesson, she showed him how to laugh with the people there, how to make them feel seen, how dignity doesn't require a crown. Diana believed everyone deserved compassion, no matter their circumstances. She passed that belief to her son. Now, 3 decades later, William was doing exactly what his mother taught him. Same compassion. Same mission. Same hands-on approach. But there was one heartbreaking difference. This time, William was completely alone. No Harry beside him. No brother to share the weight of the moment, or to say, "Remember when Mum brought us here?" Just a prince carrying boxes in his mother's birthday week, without his brother, without his mother, without anyone who truly understood what the moment meant to him. Then it happened. William stopped in front of a newly built home, watching a mother and her 2 children finally move in off the streets. He stood there silently for a long time. Some say he was thinking about Diana. Others say Harry. Everyone who saw it agreed on one thing: the future King of England was fighting back tears. Because this wasn't charity work. This was a message, to his mother, to his brother, to the world. I remember. I'm still doing what you taught me. Even if I have to do it alone. To understand why this moment was so powerful, we have to go back to 1997, to a 15-year-old boy walking behind his mother's coffin in front of the entire world. That image is burned into Britain's memory. A young prince, head bowed, shoulders heavy with grief, while millions watched and wept. That boy is now 44. He has 3 children of his own. He is the future King of England, carrying the weight of the crown with grace and duty. But on July 1st, 2026, William wasn't playing the perfect prince. He was just William, the son who still misses his mum. For most of his adult life, William has walked a careful line between duty and grief, performing the role expected of a future monarch while carrying a loss that never really heals. This particular week, that balancing act looked different. It looked like a man choosing, quietly, to let the grief lead. Royal experts note how unusual this was. Typically, when William works on homelessness initiatives, he's surrounded by cameras, advisors, the full machinery of Kensington Palace. Every move calculated. Every word measured. Not this time. No PR advisors hovering. No staged photo opportunities. Just William, showing up, rolling up his sleeves, and getting to work. One insider told reporters, William's work has always been deeply personal because it was his mother who first opened his eyes to homelessness as a child. Diana believed every person deserved dignity, compassion, and practical support, no matter their background. William sees Homewards as a continuation of those values. Marking what would have been her 65th birthday by focusing on this cause feels like the most meaningful tribute he could make. But William wasn't only thinking about Diana, he was thinking about the brother who wasn't there. 30 years ago, Diana took both her sons to homeless shelters, side by side, learning the same lessons, laughing with the same people. Now, on what would have been her 65th birthday, William was doing it alone. We know what Diana wanted, for her sons to stand together, to continue her work as one. Instead, 6,000 miles apart, 2 sons honored one mother in silence. But William didn't let the distance stop him. He kept working, kept moving, kept honoring his mother the only way he knew how, even if it meant doing it alone. 6,000 miles away. That's how far Harry was from his brother on their mother's 65th birthday. While William was in Scotland carrying chairs and stacking boxes, Harry was in Montecito, California, a different world entirely. Yet despite the bitter 3-year estrangement, the interviews, the books, the accusations, both brothers still share one unbreakable bond: their love for their mother. Royal expert and Diana confidant Jenny Bond told the Mirror that both William and Harry would honor Diana in their own ways this year, but separately. "I'm sure they will each remember her in their own way," Bond said. "It's thought that Harry at least will visit his mother's grave when he is in the UK next week." Harry is reportedly planning to take Archie and Lilibet to Althorpe House for the very first time, to visit the grave of the grandmother they never met. Because of security concerns and the ongoing rift with the royal family, the children have never been to Diana's final resting place. 3 years of silence. 3 years of distance. 2 brothers who can't seem to find their way back to each other. Now, on their mother's 65th birthday, they were honoring her in completely different ways. William in Scotland, carrying boxes for strangers; Harry in America, planning a private pilgrimage to his mother's grave. Bond said Diana would be absolutely torn to see her grandchildren on either side of the Atlantic, and distraught to see her sons at war. Imagine her watching from above, the 2 boys she raised to protect each other, completely fractured. Could this birthday have been the moment to heal? Could it have been the day William and Harry finally set aside their differences? For her? 4 years, royal watchers have clung to small signs of hope. A shared statement here, a rumored phone call there. Diana's 65th birthday felt, to many, like the most natural occasion imaginable for the brothers to find their way back to one another, even briefly. It was, after all, about her, not about the palace, not about titles, not about who said what in which memoir. What actually happened? A garden party at Kensington Palace was one possibility many hoped for. The sunken garden, Diana's favourite spot, filled with 4,000 flowers as a tribute to the people's princess, with William and Harry standing together as they did on her 60th birthday, when they unveiled her statue on July 1, 2021, and stood united. That was the dream for her 65th. The reality was different. On July 1, 2026, there was no joint appearance, no unified statement, no reconciliation. William was in Edinburgh at St. Giles Cathedral with King Charles and Queen Camilla, attending the Order of the Thistle service, one of the most ancient royal ceremonies. Dressed in deep green velvet robes, ostrich feathers on his hat, a heavy gold chain around his neck, he looked every inch the future king. It was protocol. It was duty. But William didn't let it stop him from honouring his mother. He used the moment to mark the 3rd anniversary of Homewards, a quiet nod to the woman who taught him to care. Meanwhile, London prepared Fleurs de Ville, a floral exhibition featuring 15 mannequins dressed entirely in flowers, recreating Diana's most iconic outfits: her wedding dress, her revenge dress, her humanitarian looks, set to open in September in support of the Diana Award, a charity both brothers support. But the most visible tribute, the one that might have brought the brothers together, simply didn't happen. No shared moment. Just 2 princes, 2 countries, 2 entirely different ways of honouring the same woman. What made it so emotional? It was the way William carried chairs into newly built homes, not because cameras were rolling, but because someone needed to move them, and he didn't think himself too important to do it. It was the way he talked about homelessness, not as a distant policy issue, but as a cause his mother taught him about on the school run. "When I was very small, my mother started talking about homelessness, much like I do now with my children," William once said. Diana taught him through action and presence, not lectures. She made his first visit to a shelter a happy experience rather than a guilty or frightening one, showing him that the people there deserved kindness, laughter, and dignity, just like anyone else. 30 years later, William was teaching his own children the same lessons. The part that broke Britain was the silence. No PR blitz, no dramatic statement, just a prince getting his hands dirty in Scotland while his brother planned a private tribute in England. William never mentioned Harry, never addressed the rift. He simply channeled his mother's compassion and got to work. Not words, but action. Not crowns, but carrying chairs for strangers. Not titles, but showing up for people who have nothing. That quiet act of love is what left the nation wiping their eyes. What Diana would have wanted. Jenny Bond didn't hold back on what Diana would have felt. She would have been absolutely torn if she had grandchildren on either side of the Atlantic. And she would have been distraught to see her sons at war. Diana was never about protocol. She hugged AIDS patients when the world was afraid to touch them. She walked through minefields in Angola. She took her sons to homeless shelters so they'd never forget that privilege comes with responsibility. She desperately wanted her sons to stand united, especially after William's ascension to the throne. Instead, William in Scotland carrying chairs for strangers, Harry in California planning a private visit to his mother's grave. But Diana wouldn't have just been sad, she would have acted. She would have acted as a go-between and knocked William and Harry's heads together to make them see sense, Bond said. She understood both sides, having rebelled against the system herself. If she were alive, she would have been the bridge between her boys. She's not here. And that's what makes this so painful. William's work with Homewards isn't just a tribute, it's a continuation. One source close to William explained, Diana transformed public attitudes by treating people experiencing homelessness with warmth and humanity rather than judgment. William has inherited the belief that lasting change comes from listening, bringing people together, and challenging the systems that allow vulnerable people to fall through the cracks. This birthday was a reminder of what could have been, a mother celebrating with her sons and grandchildren, two brothers united in her memory. Instead, a prince carrying boxes, and a private visit to a grave. The numbers behind the tribute. The Homewards Initiative has allocated about $2.6 million through its fund, secured another $4.8 million in grants and private philanthropy, and provided $3.1 million in donated household items to furnish homes. Over 250 people have been helped into stable employment, and 31 Aberdeen residents have moved into permanent housing created through the project. These aren't just numbers, their lives changed, families sleeping in their own beds for the first time, children with a place to call home. William sees every one of those lives as a tribute to his mother. Homelessness is not an individual failure, it is a systemic failure, William said while marking 3 years of Homewards. And, if systems help create the problem, then systems can help prevent it. That's Diana's legacy, not just charity, but action. Not just sympathy, but solutions. Harry carries the torch too, visiting Angola to walk through minefields just as his mother did, working with landmine clearance organizations, taking Meghan to Diana's grave at Althorpe to introduce her to the mother he lost, and making sure Archie and Lilibet will grow up knowing their grandmother's story. Both brothers are keeping her spirit alive, just separately. The question that haunts everyone, will they ever stand side by side again, the way they did at the statue unveiling on her 60th birthday? That's the legacy Diana truly wanted. Not two sons carrying on her work apart, but together. It's a legacy still unfinished. Every year that passes without reconciliation is another year Diana's original hope goes unmet. And yet, in a strange way, every act of individual kindness from either brother keeps her spirit present in the world, whether they're standing together or not. July 1st, 2026. It wasn't just another date on the royal calendar. It was a day of quiet gestures and heartbreaking distance. Two brothers honoring the same woman, unable to stand in the same room. William spent the day in Edinburgh at St. Giles Cathedral for the Order of the Thistle service, in velvet robes beside King Charles and Queen Camilla. Duty, protocol, the weight of the crown. But just one day earlier, he'd been in Aberdeen, carrying chairs and stacking boxes for families who had nothing, through his Homewards initiative. He posted photos on Instagram captioned simply, "A home to come back to." Meanwhile, Harry was preparing his own tribute 6,000 miles away. Reports confirmed he would take Archie and Lilibet to Althorpe House during his upcoming UK visit, to visit the grandmother they never met. Althorpe House, Diana's childhood home, where she's buried on a secluded island in the round oval lake, was reportedly set to close to the public for 2 days during his visit, a rare move that sparked speculation. A source close to the estate said, closing Althorpe during its limited public opening season is something that very rarely happens. There is a genuine feeling that this should remain an intensely private moment centered on Diana's memory. Some insiders voiced concern the visit could become more than a private family moment. There is concern that images or details could eventually find their way into future commercial ventures. Diana's gravesite should never become part of a wider publicity narrative. Two princes. Two countries. Two very different ways of honoring the same woman. A nation watched, remembered, and wept. Jenny Bond put it bluntly. Diana would have been absolutely torn with grandchildren on either side of the Atlantic, and distraught to see her sons at war. She would have done everything in her power to bring them back together. But she's not here. All we have are two sons, still mourning their mother, still trying to make her proud, still carrying her legacy forward, just separately. William with his chairs and boxes in Scotland. Harry with his children at their grandmother's grave. Both broken. both trying, both honoring the woman they lost. And maybe that's enough. Because Diana's legacy isn't only about two brothers standing together. It's about two sons who never stopped loving their mother, who never forgot what she taught them, and who are passing those lessons on to their own children. The people's princess may be gone, but her heart is still beating, in every chair William carries, in every child Harry holds, in every life they touch. That's why Britain is in tears. Not because of what William did, but because of what he kept doing, even when it hurt, even when he was alone, even when he was carrying the weight of a brother who wasn't there. Diana raised a prince. But on July 1st, 2026, William was just her son. And that was more than enough.